We're still keeping track of what's happening on the energy front, oil and gas prices that continue to rocket. The latest catalyst, of course, has been that super tanker that's been stuck in the Suez Canal. It's literally blocking ships from proceeding right now, better than 265 of them at last count. About a third of the world's commerce is transacted along the Suez Canal, and about 15% of oil impacted by that region as well. Phil Flynn joins us right now, the Price Futures Group senior analyst, Fox News contributor. Rebecca Walser as well of Walser Wealth Management. So, Phil, you were saying this was just an added reason to see prices move up, not the least of which is the fact that things are picking up in the economy, the administration's move away from fossil fuels. A lot of bad timing here, but this Suez Canal stuck ship, that's gotten to be a bigger contributor to this than thought. What's going on?
It really is. When you think about this, Neil, think about your heart, right? If you get a clogged artery, right, and you've got block off a 20% blockage, if that goes on for some time, I mean, you're going to have a heart attack, right? And I think that's where we're headed at the global economy. Other things as you go forward. So, I mean, what you're going to be looking at is if this is shut down for an extended period of time, it's going to add to the cost of everything. And we're not just talking oil and gas. We're talking cell phones. We're talking wine. We're talking, wine. That's very important, of course. And all these goods are going to get backlogged by these 200 ships. This tanker that is blocked, it's the biggest one in the world, but it's the ships behind it that are really going to have an impact. And if they're going to start moving that stuff out of the canal, if they can't open it up, it's a long trip, a lot more expensive. You got to go around the southern tip of Africa. That could add to the cost of moving those goods by almost $500,000.
I was just thinking of what's happening on the energy front with all of this, Rebecca, whether you want to peg it to this Suez Canal stuck tanker or just the improvement in the overall economy that's pushing these prices up. But I'm thinking about all those folks getting these $1,400 checks, better than $230 million are already out. This is going to disrupt their spending plans. I wonder how much. What do you think?
Yeah, it's a real big shame that this is actually happening right when they get these checks, right? And so we'll start to see prices absolutely go higher. We just can't ignore the fact, Neil, that food is more expensive and gas is more expensive, and you can't fake that. People know how much it costs to fill up their tank and buy milk. And so it's a shame that this is happening right when we got the additional stimulus spending for people that really needed it right now.
Mm-hmm. Rebecca, when you look at the overall consumer demand part of the equation, we had an expected drop-off in spending in the latest month. I don't think that shocked anyone. But is it an aberration? In other words, do you still see, or are you in that camp that says this is a year of robust consumer buying? I mean, certainly all the major retailers, all the major airlines seem to be planning for just that scenario. What about you?
Well, Neil, it really depends on if we stay open and if we keep getting open. I mean, obviously the news this week with Germany going back into shutdown mode was not encouraging based on the variants that they have of the virus there. So really, Neil, the government is doing everything they can. The Federal Reserve is doing everything they can. It really has to be the people telling their governors, let's open, let's get back to work. That's what's going to take.
Phil, we always mention whether this is a sign of inflation or just the uptick in prices. Overall, we're still at very subdued levels. But there are those who are talking about, you were the first among, say oil prices could rocket. Maybe, I think Goldman Sachs said up to $80 a barrel. We're also getting hints of at least $4 gas by the time summer's over. Where are you on all of this?
Yeah, I think we're in for a summer of pain when it comes to oil prices. And this always happens, Neil, when people take things for granted, right? Oil prices were cheap. They're going to stay cheap forever. And that's when you get into a problem. So what we're seeing here is a situation where the demand for oil is going to go through the roof. And we're seeing signs of that already. And the economy hasn't even reopened. You look at places like India, China, and in Europe, you're starting to see the manufacturing demand for energy get to where it was before the crisis. And even with that, you're seeing problems in the supply chain right now where factories are going to have to ramp up to meet demand. Now you add to this a situation that could be short-term in nature, but could have long-term consequences in the Suez Canal. So you put this all together, you get these prices that are continuing up. So you have commodity price inflation. It's happening. You don't have to, think, is it going to happen? Because it's happening now. You look at the price of lumber. You look at the price of copper. You look at the price of steel. You look at the price of grains. And so it's already happening. The question is it going to get out of control? And when it does happen, is the Fed going to have the ammunition to cool it down, when they're already so stretched trying to stimulate the economy?
All right, guys, want to thank you both very, very much. We're going to continue monitoring this. A couple of developments I want to bring you up on. Indeed, the Brits have decided to get emergency powers in effect that they've already been in effect for another 60 days. We are separately hearing as well right now out of France that it is going to reimpose some restrictions that had been lifted. We don't know for how long, whether they would go through Easter, for example, as in Italy, that being the case, where they're urging all residents to sort of shelter in place through Easter Sunday. So again, keeping abreast of all of that, these are not issues that are coming up in the United States. We hasten to add that, and that is the tone that certainly the markets are taking, that whatever ails some of these foreign markets and these countries like India and Brazil, where they're having a devil of a problem with the virus, we are not.